Hey everyone! Today we're going to walk through a really cool chemistry demonstration, Activity 8.5, that shows off a huge concept in a super simple way. We're going to watch two basic ingredients become something totally different right before our eyes.
And it all boils down to this one big question. How is it even possible to start with the exact same stuff and end up with two completely different things? Let's figure it out.
So first things first, let's look at the setup. It couldn't be simpler, really. We've just got two ingredients to work with, some iron filings and some sulfur powder. We're going to mix them up, but then we're going to send them down two very different paths. Okay, here's the game plan. We start by mixing the iron and sulfur together really well. We'll call that sample A. Then we take half of that mix, pop it in a dish, and heat it. We keep heating it until it forms this new black chunk of stuff. And that's our sample B. See? Same starting point, but one crucial little twist.
All right, now that we have our two samples ready to go, it is time to investigate. Our very first test is about as simple as it gets. We're just going to use our eyes and take a closer look.
So what do you think? Just by looking at them, do sample A and sample B look like the same thing to you? I mean, not even close, right? And yeah, the difference is just night and day. If you look at sample A, you can still totally see the little black specks of iron and the yellow powder of the sulfur. They're just hanging out together. But sample B, it's just one solid black mass. The original iron and sulfur seem to have totally disappeared. Okay, test one is in the books. Now let's move on to our second test. For this one, we're bringing in a special tool to see what's really going on with their properties, a simple magnet. So, time to make a prediction. We all know that one of our original ingredients, iron, is magnetic. So, what do you think is going to happen when we bring this magnet close to each of our samples? And would you look at that? For sample A, the iron filings literally jump right out of the sulfur and stick to the magnet. The iron is still acting exactly like iron. But when we try it on sample B, nothing. Absolutely nothing happens. It's like the iron's magnetic ability just vanished. All right, on to our third and final test. This is where we get to the chemical level. We're going to add a little bit of hydrochloric acid to each sample and see what happens. Now, adding acid is going to cause a reaction in both of them, and that reaction is going to release a gas. But here's the million-dollar question. Is it going to be the same gas? This is our last and biggest clue. And there it is. This is the smoking gun. Sure, both of them bubble and make a gas, but with sample A, the gas that comes off has no smell at all. That's just hydrogen gas, which is what you get when acid reacts with plain old air. But sample B, phew! It gives off a gas with that awful, rotten egg smell. That's hydrogen sulfide, a totally different gas. Okay, let's recap. We've gathered all our evidence, we've looked at them, we've tested them with a magnet, and we've seen how they react with acid. It is time for the big reveal. Let's finally solve the mystery we started with. It turns out sample A is what we call a mixture. The iron and sulfur were basically just roommates in a bowl. Each one kept its own identity. The iron was still magnetic, the sulfur was still yellow. We could even separate them physically with a magnet. Simple as that. But sample B, that's a whole different animal. That's a compound. When we added that heat, the iron and sulfur didn't just mix. They actually bonded together chemically. They formed something brand new, with its own unique properties. It wasn't magnetic, and it created a totally different gas when it reacted with acid. So there you have it. The mystery is solved. Our experiment proved it. Sample A was just a simple iron-sulfur mixture, but sample B transformed into a new compound called iron sulfide. And all it took was one simple step, heating, to kick off a chemical reaction that made something completely new. And that really brings us to the most important takeaway of this whole thing, which is stated perfectly right here. The properties of a compound are completely different from the properties of the elements that make it up. The iron and sulfur lost their original identities to become something else entirely. And, you know, this whole idea isn't just for some lab experiment. You are surrounded by mixtures and compounds every single day. The salt on your food? That's a compound. The air you're breathing right now? That's a mixture. So after seeing how just a little bit of heat can cause such a massive transformation, what are you going to notice differently about the world around you?